Welcome in, everybody, to the Michigan basketball postgame live. It's a final out in California. Michigan wins it by 11, 85-74 over Southern Cal. We are here after every Michigan basketball game talking about what happened with the Wolverines, and with this one here, new year, a new Big Ten, and that Michigan goes out with a West Coast swing. Started tonight against USC. Coming up on Tuesday, they'll take on UCLA, and then they'll come on back and take on Washington on Sunday. But it started tonight against the Trojans, and a roadie on the Golden Coast and coming away with the dub. Now, winning in the conference and winning on the road, any conference, anybody you ever come across will say it's tough to win on the road in conference play. So just from that standpoint, if you didn't watch this game and you're watching this back or listening to this back, that's a thumbs up. If I told you that Michigan looked very good in a lot of aspects of this game, one of the aspects that they didn't look good in was the turnovers, which has plagued this team all year long. You'd say, okay, I'll buy that. That's something that you've seen all year long. But with this one here, Michigan, well, let's just get into it, and we'll tell you how this one went down. We'll look for some of your feedback if you're out there and you have a thought on this game. Number 14 on the year, a restart of conference play. You remember in 2024, Michigan played Wisconsin on the road and Iowa. They won both of those. And so back out and ready to take on just Big Ten teams now. And that includes USC, as you know, and this two-game West Coast swing to start out the new year. And U of M started out with a barrage of threes, and they made them all. 5 for their first 5 from downtown, and they knocked down 10 from distance in the first half. That's halfway to the Big Ten record that what they set the Michigan record with 19 in their previous game. But spoiler alert, in the second half, they didn't make any threes. And they, in a couple spots, looked like this was going to come down with some of their other games where it was going to be a tight one at the end and one possession. And, oh, no, would they be able to hang on? But that wasn't the case. They did get up by 9 by making those long-range shots early, but it was a 4-point lead at the half, 42-38 for the Maize and Blue. And then 3 minutes into the second half, Michigan put together a nice run, and they were up double figures. But there were big swings in this game. USC had some, and then Michigan, they had the nice run at the end of the game when they put the big arm down and would end up winning this one. But USC came all the way back in this one. And Vlad Golden had 4 fouls, so they had to put him on the bench. But Big Vlad came back with a few minutes remaining in the two-man game, which was the story after Michigan goes big from downtown in the first half and then dry in the second half. The other part of this game was the 2 7-footers playing the two-man game, and they were dominant. Wolf to Gold and Gold to Wolf, back and forth. And that's what was, we have talked about it all year long. Now that we've watched this team, it's trouble for the opponents. And you look, USC did have one guy that was 6'10", but you started looking at that front line. At one point, they had, they're playing a 6'7" 2-guard on Vlad Gold. That's just not going to get it done. And that's going to wear you down. And there's not a lot of teams that are going to be able to match up with that. And USC was one of those. And that was the key in the end, the way I saw it with this game, with Michigan winning it by 11 points. Now, Michigan is the best field goal percentage shooting team of the Big Ten, and they were again tonight, 52.7% from the field, 10 of 24. They made all 10 in the first half from 3. Didn't make any in the second half, 41.7%. Still okay when you look at the numbers. Those 14 turnovers, they had 5 at the half. something I didn't say on that was the free throws, 81% from the charity stripe. And late in the game, Vlad Golden was up there when this one was still in doubt. And the big man, the 7-1 big man, walked up and drained both of them. When you have a go-to frontline player that is not that good at the charity stripe, it drives you crazy if you're a basketball fan. That's not the case for Michigan. They have guys that can step up and make their free throws, and that's something that's very nice. You know, the long view for me now that we're into 2025 and we've seen this team play 14 games, that they can win the Big Ten, and they can make a run in the tournament. If I am talking about it, you say, you know, the Final Four team. I don't know. That sounds a little bit out there right now, but Sweet 16. When you start talking about, you know, I think, you know, you are, if you think you can win the Big Ten, and they can. They're certainly one of the teams that you talk about. The other teams, you know, Michigan, they've got that flaw with the turnovers and some of their guard play. There's no doubt about that. And that usually, you talk about winning a conference and playing well in tournaments, you know, guard play is something that you need, you know, that needs to be a strength of yours. And so Michigan has that. But if you look at the other teams, it's not like there's another team and then in the Big Ten that you look at and say, oh, that team is just from top to bottom. They've got everything going. No, this is not like, you know, you see some of the other teams. And today was a great day for college basketball, making the transition from football. But KenPom, Michigan, heading into the day, they're almost a top 10 team. I looked, KenPom, I didn't realize how much he updated right after the game. Michigan dropped down to 12. And I guess, you know, depending on how these things still shake, we'll see where they end up, whatever time. It's a fluid situation when it comes to KenPom. But Michigan entered tonight's game against USC as the 11th team in the KenPom rankings, the second highest ranked team out of the Big Ten, just behind Illinois, who is sitting there at 8. So that's nice when you look at the maize and blue. Offensively, ranked 25th, and then defensively 16th. You know, if you get into, this is a long ways away, but when you talk about teams that can win it all or get to the Final Four, if you can be top 25, certainly top 20 in the defense and offensive ratings with KenPom, you're looking good. And if you look at the last, I don't know, I don't have the number. You know, you get to the tournament, you see that stat, the KenPom stat, that teams, you know, it's something like, you know, 80-90% of teams that are in the top 20, you know, all of you have to have that to make the Final Four. So it's a good mark, good marking, a good goal if you can do that, and it's something good to look at if you're a Michigan fan. And those stats are nice if you are a Michigan fan. Nice when you look at the overall record now in the Big Ten, it's perfect. 3-0, Michigan 11-3 overall. And let's look at some of those individual numbers as we walk through it and see what jumped out and what we can talk about as we look at it. This was Danny Wolf was awesome in this game. The big man, you know, he does have a turnover bug. You know, he had 3. Sometimes it's a little too flashy, I think, with his passes. And other times you say you're going to live with it, man. He's a 7-footer and he's doing things that 7-footers don't do. So you are going to have to live with. I'm going to have to, and then you are as well. But when you're putting up 21, 3, and 7, and you're 9 of 12 from the field, and 2 of 3 from downtown, you say, all right, the Wolf of State Street, you know, you want to throw a couple away, we'll live with it. Trey Donaldson had a big first half in really from the 3-point line, 4 of 6 from downtown. He ended up with 16 points. He also made a big field goal late. In the final 3 minutes, Michigan, it looked like USC ran out of gas, and it looked like Michigan was stepping on the gas. Donaldson was part of that. He made a big play. Namari Burnett was solid tonight, 16 points, 3 of 5 from downtown. Roddy Gale Jr., he was a Jekyll and Hyde. He was nowhere to be found. He was a magician in the first half, but then he came back and was making some big plays. He ended up with a dozen. And Big Vlad Golden, he had the foul trouble, which kept him out, but he was still a force, and he was a big factor late in the game, and he made his free throws and ended up with 11 points, 3 boards, and 4 assists for the big man. Michigan's bench, they didn't really get a whole lot. Cheddar had 5 points and 4 boards. Kason had a bucket. Reuben Jones was back. That was nice, but it's going to take him a little bit to get back, I think, because he was in there and coughed up the ball and then fouled the guy going in. And then Kason, they gave the ball to him, and he got stripped, and they went in. It was like the sequence that USC got on this run to tie the game back. And Pippen was the first guard in, well, I guess Jones, but then maybe for sure the first freshman guard in, and Pippen ends up with a point. So he gets mentioned in the box score recap as we take a look at it. We always take a look at what the people are saying, the Michigan basketball fans. You're up on a Saturday night watching this live, and you just know that we're here after every Michigan basketball game, but it's always great to see the people that are coming in, like the punters, who was encouraged by the second half performance. Granted, the refs helped them out. Wolf was outstanding on both ends. Yeah, Wolf, that's a good point, because I failed to mention, I was just looking at his points and rebounds and assists, but he also had 6 blocks. I thought they said 8 on the broadcast, because Casey Jacobson was amazed that it had been 8 years since a Michigan player had 8 blocks. But I don't know, they just have him down for 6 on the box score here that I'm looking at. But he did have that big block late, which was nice. And I'm with you. He would be, punters, the player of the game. He was pretty awesome. Wayne says this team just showed it can win multiple ways. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Here is a go. Mesmia. Ego Mesmia says, who's the leader of this team? I think the leader of this team is the aforementioned Wolf of State Street, Danny Wolf, and the combination of Wolf and Gold. Now, those are their 2 best players. That's their best play, working those 2. And then after that, I think if you ask Dusty May, he would say we've got different guys that could step up, and then he would start talking about Roddy Gale Jr., but I would not say that. I thought at the beginning of the year, or Trey Donaldson, I think it's Wolf, and it is Golden. 2 best players, the 2 guys you want the ball anytime. That's how they closed out this game. They're going to need a better guard play from all of them. And, Donaldson looks like the best right now. But, as mentioned, after Donaldson, Reuben Jones, that he's been injured, but he came back and did not play well. Kason did not. Pippen, the freshman, didn't. And so after Donaldson and Donaldson and Gale, they have to have those guys. And so, if they're going to win, mark these words, if they're going to win the Big Ten or do any kind of damage in the postseason, they're going to need better guard play. Eric says, am I the only one who feels 5 times older than I was at the start of the game? No, I feel you. When they went through that stretch where they were playing Arkansas, and then it was like, wow, they lost that one, and then they came back and lost another one. It was tight, and I understand what you're saying. AG is back at it, and he says, as long as we keep giving up this many turnovers, decent opponents will always keep the games close, no doubt. No doubt. I mean, that's the thing. That would be the thing that would prevent me when somebody would say, "Hey, this team's going to win the Big Ten. Hey, this team is going to make a long run in the NCAA tournament." I would say, "Yeah, you got to have better guard play, and you've got to do a better job taking care of the ball." And it's one thing. Danny Wolf made he was driving and he made a dish, and it was had a little bit too much mustard on it, and you see those kind of ones, or you travel. But these guys make some of the, you say it's lazy, but they don't value the basketball enough where they will be dribbling and they will just pass it. And sometimes the guy that they're passing to is already cutting, or sometimes that guy that they're passing it to, it's kind of like he's not looking the ball in. He's gonna just has his hands out there and it just goes right through the hands. You're like, you can't. I don't know what you could say to him. Pay attention. Really think about you can't. That's the tough part when you're a coach, because I'm sure that they've tried to do everything. Look the ball in your hands before you start doing anything. You can't think. You can't think too much, but telling them to value the basketball, I'm sure all of that has been done. And then you let them go and say, okay, there's going to be some of that, when you're going to put them on the line, start running again, for every turnover. You can't do stuff like that. So they just got to get better at it. And, it's easy for me to say value the basketball. I know that they've been told that in Dusty May till he's red in the face. So what are we going to do? It was a big road win. You win on the road, you're doing good. Danny Wolf was a steal. I'm with you like that. And look, Danny Wolf, I know they did say it on the broadcast. Jacobson said Rob Pelinka, the former Wolverine, who was on was he on the 89 championship team, or was he with the Fab Five? He was with the 89 team. Hit some big shots for them coming off the bench. So, and he's the GM of the Lakers, and so he was in Cali, so he was at the game, and Jacobson said, "Oh, he's just standing 10 feet away from the Wolf of State Street." But Danny Wolf could come back. Michigan technically can get everyone back on this team with the exception of Reuben Jones and Big Vlad. So Danny Wolf, if he wants to come back for one more year, that would be nice. As I think everybody would agree with. The Fancy Lion, who's got me excited. I'm excited about the Lions game tomorrow. I'm sure like everyone else. He says this team is good, but they are really mentally soft. The mental game has hurt them. Yeah, I can't disagree with that. And if you apply it to the turnovers, again, one of these where it takes focus to be able to throw the ball in a situation where it's not high risk or it's not reckless. And yeah, you got to allow guys some freedom too. So whatever that line is, but this team crosses the line too much. And yeah, I think that mental part, I completely understand where you're coming from. Yeah, Donaldson made that big play late. TP's talking about Donaldson. He'd like to see him have more of a leadership role. Says he goes MIA for long stretches. He does. So they're two best guards. And look at just tonight's game. Roddy Gale Jr., he was nowhere to be found in the first half. And then Donaldson was really nowhere to be found in the second half until one play. Big play late in the game. You're going to have to do better than that. And then Reuben Jones and LJ Kayson and whoever else they want to put in, Pippen, those guys have, right now, from what you cannot rely on Reuben Jones, LJ Kayson, or Justin Pippen. Those three guys, you have to put them out there for a couple minutes or something just to give the other guys. But it's one of the issues with the team. FL's talking about the analyst was such a USC fanboy. He would clam up when U of M had the momentum and get excited when USC got the momentum. Well, he's a Pac-12 guy. There's no doubt, Casey Jacobson. So you're never going to be able to get away from that. And me trying to say that, I didn't really see that myself, but it doesn't matter. If that's what you saw, the refs were against Michigan and the announcers are against Michigan. If you always just go with that, then, we can all agree. So there's no reason for me to argue anything else. Punter says it's lazy passing. He can't help but compare them to Beeline teams that were so disciplined with their ball discipline. Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look what the turnover rate was for Beeline teams. One thing that was it a hallmark of Beeline teams? I think so. You had a point guard that was going to run the show, whether it was, Derek Walton, and you just kind of go down the list of all of Trey Burke, of the exceptional Xavier Simpson, that you could give the ball to and they could run the team, the quarterback, and put you in there. Michigan does not have that right now. You'd like to have more from Trey Donaldson, as was mentioned here, but too up and down. Gale doesn't look like he can be. He is up and down. He's been around the block enough times. The thing about Donaldson, he hasn't been in this situation. He was more of a role guy at Auburn, but I think that's part of it. Where you come down and then you think about a Beeline. Yeah, Gale's a liability sometimes. And then as soon as you say that, like the first half, when you can't put him on the bench, and then he was out there, and then he did make some nice plays. Jack is saying Donaldson has the potential to be that. And that's what they need. They'll need that if they want to be a factor. Say a factor in the Big Ten championship and a factor in the NCAA tournament. Those are nice things to talk about. Just getting into the tournament, for me, for this year, for this team, if I could go back and talk to myself before the season and say, hey, you would start out the new year feeling like this team is like on lock getting into the tournament, I'd say, wow, that's nice. What a job by Dusty. This is great. And so you got to, I have to at least remind myself of that. And as you play better, expectations go up. There's no doubt about that. But there, almost every game that I've watched Michigan play this year, I said, wow, this is a fun team. This is an exciting team, with the exception of the turnovers, which are maddening. So oh wow, boy, you like this, you like that. You just get, maybe it's like eating those really good hot wings you like with the blue cheese. Oh, they taste good, everything else, but they give you a little heartburn. I don't know. That's it. We got a few more here. Steve jumping in saying Walters is a liability in close games too. Yeah, Walters, I think you kind of know what he is. He's a flat-out three-point shooter. He's coming in. He's a southpaw. He's going to spot up, and he might be able to give you some instant offense. I think there's going to be a couple games where he goes 3 of 5 or 4 of 6 from downtown. He's getting into double figures, and that's all he'll shoot. And you say, okay, nice. I kind of feel like Cheddar is like that as well. You're coming in, and these guys are casting. They're open. They're instant offense, and they can really give you a punch off the bench, or they can give you nothing. You'd like it to be a little bit better than all or nothing, but that's what they're bringing off the bench right now. Cheddar firing, what's he bring? But Cheddar plays with so much fire, and he's just in everybody's, patting everybody on the back, shaking everybody's hands, getting everybody. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. Not saying that Walters isn't, but yeah, those guys are kind of similar, at least the way I'm looking at it. Lion says Pippen was trying to impress his dad really bad, too. Front 4 shots. Yeah, sure. Maybe that was the first time his dad saw him in the maize and blue. And Jason talking about Gale Jr. when the scarlet and gray, that Gale Jr. will have 30. Yeah, well, that'll be interesting. Coming from Ohio State to Michigan, that dynamic. And then JC says the defending is a little bit iffy at times. Well, I'll buy that. I also will buy that this team, when you have skyscrapers, And you think about being able to change shots when you have a 7-1, your front line 7-1, 7 feet with the the Twin Towers. The original Twin Towers were who Ralph Sampson and Hakeem Olajuwon. Olajuwon wasn't even 7 feet, but Sampson was like 7'4". It really is. It gets talked about. I don't know. It's not an oddity because there are there certainly pro teams that can put that kind of height out there, but not many college teams. Kentucky a few years ago, it seemed like they could put out some a front line that was pretty close to 7 feet. But it's hard. You got to deal with it when you're the other team. And Michigan's guys, the Golden Wolf are nice because Wolf plays out and Golden, he plays back to the basket, but he's good on the pick and roll. They're both good on the pick and roll. So they're skilled, and yet Golden is that back to the basket guy. So they really play well together. And it was really the story of this game. That 2-man game was the reason Michigan was looked like they were putting down their dominance in the first half. And then with 3 minutes to go, that's why they won the game. Golden came back in with 4 fouls, and then USC, they just ran out of gas, and they could not hold Golden and Wolf, the Golden Wolf, and Michigan goes on and gets the victory. So that's it. We got the upcoming schedule, and that is brought to you by, guess who? The Maize and Blue Review. That's who it's brought to you by. Let's see. Where's that at? Yeah, here it is. And as we check that upcoming schedule, we'll say we are brought to you by M&BR. Give yourself or that U of M fan in your life the gift of the Maize and Blue Review for 2025. Go to michigan.rivals.com. Michigan out there on the recruiting trail, wide receivers, defensive tackles. You've got constant news going on with the team, how it's shaping for next season, and it doesn't seem like any of the enthusiasm or push from the football team that they were able to get by beating Ohio State and then winning the ReliaQuest Bowl against Alabama. None of that's fading. Everybody is still super high and focused in on the football team, and we're into basketball season, and that's all right. Hockey season too. I'm going to the hockey game tomorrow night. I watched the what was it, Frozen Confines yesterday. Here is that upcoming schedule. Michigan will stay out there in Cali. Not a bad job if you're with the team out there. Hit the beach for a couple days. Yeah, you got all day Sunday and Monday. Tom Wyrot's going to go out there, I'm sure, just hang out, put his toes out in the sand. He's a great swimmer. He might be jumping out in the Pacific Ocean. Who knows? But, oh, man, I didn't notice 10 o'clock on a Tuesday night. Woo-hoo! Whoa. Welcome to the Big Ten West Coast swing on a weekday night. Remind me of when the Red Wings played in the Western Conference. Some of those playoff games. But yeah, UCLA lost, so they're going to be, dialed in. Michigan, that's going to be a tight game. Late one, but West Coast swing, even if you think about, hey, if they split, whatever, but Michigan, UCLA, Pauley Pavilion, I mean, it's there's no better history than what you have over there with the Bruins. And then Michigan will come home and they will play. What's 112 is that Sunday? Ooh, Sunday. So hopefully the Lions win. So there will be no situation where the Lions are playing at the same time as Washington. But, we'll find out about that tomorrow night. Right now, what we can tell you is that Michigan gets this victory and they stay undefeated in the Big Ten. 3-0. They're 11-3 overall. And they win this one by 11 tonight, 85-74. Thanks so much for watching, listening, contributing. And everybody have themselves a great weekend. I'll talk with you Monday at 2 o'clock on this very feed you're watching or listening to right now. Till then, so long.